Hello, and if this is your first time with us, welcome to the Canting Club. This week we have for you an Australian Riesling, the unassumingly titled BlancPlonk, made by cult winemaker Gary Mills at Jamshed Wines in the southern state of Victoria. The fruit for this comes mainly from the historic Garden Gully vineyard, where the vines are over a century old. It's famed for its high-intensity, high-acid Riesling and is normally used to make a much more expensive single vineyard bottling. But in 2014, Gary blended it with fruit from the Upper Goulburn nearby, and not just Riesling fruit. The label on this carries a warning that Chardonnay was also used in production and traces of it may still remain. You're really not supposed to blend anything with Riesling, least of all Chardonnay. But this isn't the only rule that Gary has broken with this wine. It was barrel fermented on full solids, which means that after it was pressed, the juice was run straight into barrels without any time to settle. So there's bits of skins and pips and what have you in there in the barrels. It was then fermented using only the naturally occurring yeasts on the grape skins, and afterwards was aged on its lees, the dead yeast cells, in those barrels for 8 months before being bottled without fining or filtration, although there's no gunk in mine and I hope there's none in yours either. All this treatment is not what you do to Riesling, which normally spends all its time in stainless steel to preserve its aromatic qualities. It's much more the sort of treatment you would do for a white Burgundy or a similar oaked Chardonnay. One of the effects of that can be seen straight away. This is quite a deep lemon colour, and a young Riesling like this would normally be very pale. I think this is a consequence of the extended skin contact it's had on those full solids. Let's see if it tastes as weird as its production methods. Let's see. Oh, that's a beautiful nose, and it's clearly Riesling, and Australian Riesling at that. The note, the fresh limes on this are very typical of Australian Riesling. But there's more unusual things in there as well. There's pungent sweet spices in here of ginger and kaffir lime, and perhaps even ginseng, and a tropical fruit note, indicating that this is quite a ripe wine. It's just off dry, which is unusual for Australian Riesling, which is normally bone dry. But I think that's necessary to counteract the searingly high acidity. Your mouth should be watering round about now. Keeps it beautifully balanced, very fresh, very lively. It's no more than medium body, despite the fairly high 13% alcohol, which is typical of Riesling, and also that high acidity. There are exuberant layers of fruit in here. Those limes, also tropical fruit like papaya and even a hint of banana, which is unusual for Riesling, much more typical of Chardonnay. That's all backed up by a subtle toastiness that might be from the lees contact and might be from the oak barrels, but is also found on Australian Rieslings once they've been aged for a bit. Oh. On the finish, those bananas make a return, along with ginger and honey, which is a very typical Riesling note. There's a slight drying sensation too, which I think might be due to a touch of tannin from that skin contact. This is a really unusual Riesling, but it's absolutely delicious. I've been desperate to do an Australian Riesling for you, but I wasn't expecting to do one quite so unusual. I love this, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Cheers!